Hi and welcome to today's video. Waves can have their directions change when they meet an object by reflection, refraction or diffraction. Today we're going to be focusing on reflection. Sound and light waves reflect off surfaces. Light is reflected off surfaces into our eyes, and this is why we are able to see objects. For our examples of reflection, we will assume that light is travelling in the same direction and reflects off an even surface. This surface will be a mirror or something smooth and shiny. As the light hits the mirror, it is reflected off at the same angle, and this is the law of reflection. This law states that the angle of incidence equals the angle of reflection. Both the angle of incidence and the angle of reflection are worked out relative to the normal. The normal is the direction of light that would reflect along the same line. It is a right angle to the mirror/smooth shiny surface that we are using to reflect our light. So let's have a look at a diagram. Our smoothy shiny surface is a mirror, and we're going to be looking at the reflection of light. The incidence light ray is the ray of light that is travelling towards the mirror. It hits the mirror at the point where it touches the mirror. The mirror then reflects the light ray out, and it reflects it along the blue line. On our diagram we have the normal, which is the red dashed line that goes into the mirror. The normal is the direction of light that will reflect along the same line. It is a right angle to the mirror/smooth surface, and we can see this from the diagram. The angle of incidence is the angle between the incident ray and the normal. We know that the angle of incidence will be the same as the angle of reflection, which is the angle between the reflected light ray and the normal. So the light ray hits the mirror and then it is reflected off at the same angle relative to the normal. So if the angle of incidence was 60 degrees, the angle of reflection will also be 60 degrees. If the angle of incidence was 40 degrees, the angle of reflection will also be 40 degrees. So now let's have a look at ray diagrams. A ray diagram shows how an image is formed on a plane mirror. So here we have an individual's eye and an object, and the object that we are using is a cup. The cup is reflecting light, and some of these light rays bounce off the mirror and into our individual's eye. We have incident rays which are going from the cup to the mirror, and then we have reflected rays which go from the mirror to the individual's eye. We call what an individual sees an image, and it will appear that the image is behind the mirror. I'm first going to go over a few rules as to how ray diagrams should be drawn. The first one is that the image is the same size as the object. The object is the actual object and the image is what the individual sees. This is because mirrors change the direction of light, but they do not distort light by making an object seem bigger or smaller. Therefore, when you are drawing a ray diagram, you need to make sure the object and the image are drawn to the same size. The next rule is that the image must be as far behind the mirror as the object is in front. Again, this is because a normal mirror will not distort distances. The next rule is that the image will be virtual, because the object will appear to be behind the mirror. Our final rule is that the image will be laterally inverted. This means that the left and right sides are swapped. So for our object, the handle was on the right, but for our image, the handle is on the left. This is because the image has been laterally inverted. So here's a few tips on how to draw a ray diagram. To start off with, draw the eye, which is the point where the rays will be going into, and draw the object and image. You need to make sure that they are the same size and they are at the same level and the same distance away from the mirror. Then draw a reflected ray going from the top of the eye to the image. The part of the ray that is between the eye and the mirror, do that in bold, and the part between the mirror and the image, do that in dotted form. After you have drawn the reflected ray, you then draw the incident ray, which goes from the mirror to the object. The incident and reflected ray follow the laws of reflection, which states that the angle of incidence is the same as the angle of reflection. However, you do not need to measure these angles out, and you just draw a line going from the mirror to the object. We then follow the same process and draw a reflected ray from the bottom of the eye. So the reflected ray goes from the bottom of the eye to the image, and the part between the eye and the mirror is in bold, and the part from the mirror to the image is in dotted line. We then draw the incident ray in bold going from the mirror to the object. For more videos, content, quizzes and past papers, go on to www.elevise.co.uk.